Hello to my fellow history lovers and people that think if I learned something new today, it will be a good day. Today's question is from the American Revolution Library of Congress questions. We have only one question for you today, and it is as follows. What did British General Charles Cornwallis, think Yorktown, he's the one who will surrender, kind of ends the war, think of many of the policies Parliament enacted before the war that sparked rebellion in the colonies? And I'll kind of summarize the back, which says basically he voted against them in Parliament. But when they came knocking and said, we're going to go to war with the rebels, he was right there in many of the major battles. But it made me curious. I didn't even realize he was in Parliament. Was it House of Lords or House of Commons? And do you know? It was House of Lords because he was actually an earl. He was an aristocrat. And then you might have known this, but I didn't. My first thought was, well, then why the heck is he going to go to war? Because very difficult to go to war. Any time to serve your country is difficult, but especially in the 1700s. But it turns out he came from a long line of aristocracy, military aristocracy, and it was kind of expected that you would serve your country. So at 14, he was sent to Italy to a military academy. And then, of course, my question is, why would you send a British boy, 14, to Italy to study military if you're the greatest army on the earth at the time, more or less? And it turns out, interestingly enough, England didn't even have a military academy at that time. So they are literally sort of the greatest army without a military academy. And these wealthy families would pay themselves to send their kids to for example, the one in, I think it was Sardinia in Italy. And it sort of meant you were destined for greatness, that, your family was really investing in your military education. All right, so fast forward, the war comes, he's involved in a lot of battles, the most famous of which will be, of course, the surrender at Yorktown. And then I was curious, well, then what's life after that? Because you surrendered. But it turns out that he was considered a hero back at home, and I'm going to juxtapose that to Burgoyne. If you remember British General Burgoyne, he loses at Saratoga, another really important battle, but he's kind of looked at as a bit of a loser, whereas Cornwallis comes back and he's looked at as a hero. And what was the difference? And it sounds like to some extent, Burgoyne had a lot of ego, and it was kind of his idea, and because his idea failed, people thought he maybe had too much hubris. On the other hand, Cornwallis, they felt like he was in a no-win situation, and they kind of blamed the government. And then lastly, he actually will go on to be like the head of India's military, and then eventually a governor in India. So anyway, that was a little bit of history about General Cornwallis. Thank you for letting me share. I will see you tomorrow.